India, a vast country with an ancient culture, has deeply influenced human civilization. Among the many unique cultural customs of the Indian people is the practice of eating with hands, commonly known as eating with hands. In most countries and ethnicities around the world, eating with hands may seem unhygienic and impolite, often associated with poverty. Typically, Asians use chopsticks, while Europeans use spoons, forks, and knives. However, there are very few places where people eat with their hands, except in cases where dishes contain many bones or large pieces that are easier to handle by hand. But in India, eating with hands is a cultural norm, even among the upper echelons of society, who use their hands to bring food to their mouths instead of using spoons, chopsticks, or other utensils. What is the origin of this custom? According to the Vedas, one of the oldest scriptures in the world, Indians since ancient times have believed that our bodies are in harmony with natural elements, and our hands possess a certain power. Vedic teachings suggest that each finger represents a specific energy corresponding to an element. The thumb represents space, the index finger represents air, the middle finger represents fire, the ring finger represents water, and the little finger represents earth. The fingers and their positions are related to the practice of mudras in ancient Indian traditions, as well as in Buddhism. Mudras carry spiritual significance, evident in the images of Buddha, the practice of meditation and yoga, and classical Indian dances such as Bharatanatyam, Odissi, and Kathak. Beyond the spiritual significance, Indians believe that hands are a precious part of the body. They think that before food enters the body for digestion, the fingers help gauge the quantity and temperature of the food, aiding in smoother digestion. When using fingers to pick up food, millions of nerve endings in the fingers relay information about the food's texture and temperature to the brain, which in turn helps the stomach to release digestive juices and enzymes effectively. Additionally, Indian culture suggests that eating with hands brings a sense of relaxation, making the digestion process easier. By bringing fingers together while eating, a person's awareness of the food increases. This custom has been passed down through centuries and has become a standard dining etiquette in India. The practice of eating with hands in India is also believed to be influenced by Buddhism and Islam. Indians think that the food and drink they receive are blessings from the divine, and thus they must be accepted with bare hands in reverence. Moreover, eating with hands is believed to engage all senses, enhancing the dining experience. In reality, not just in India but in many other countries, people sometimes need to use their hands to handle food as they are more versatile than spoons, chopsticks, or forks. For example, in Vietnam, when eating bone-in dishes, people often use their hands because chopsticks or spoons are not as effective. Similarly, when eating banzio, fresh spring rolls, or pheo kuan, people must use their hands to wrap the food. It is often said that these dishes taste better when eaten by hand. India is undoubtedly one of the countries with the most diverse cuisine in the world. However, most Indian dishes are challenging to eat with spoons or forks. A typical Indian meal includes various flatbreads like roti and chapati, which are not easily eaten with utensils. In many cultures, particularly in South India, meals are often served on banana leaves instead of plates, even in commercial eateries and restaurants. This makes the use of spoons and forks quite ineffective, hence the preference for using hands. Contrary to popular belief, eating with hands can be more hygienic and safer than using cutlery, especially in restaurants where one cannot always be sure of the cleanliness of the utensils. On the other hand, one can always ensure their hands are clean. Therefore, using hands to eat is often considered a safer option in restaurants and eateries. Although eating with hands is widely accepted in India, there are certain dining etiquette rules that must be followed to maintain good manners. If you are visiting India, here are some essential dining tips to keep in mind to avoid offending your host and fellow diners. Unlike in Western countries, where people usually serve themselves after food is brought to the table, in India, one person, often the host, serves others to avoid multiple hands touching the serving utensils. Asking for what you want at the table and waiting your turn to be served is considered polite. Indian meals are usually served all at once rather than in courses. Before eating, everyone must wash their hands thoroughly to ensure hygiene and show respect to the host and the divine entities who have provided the food. Before sitting down to start an Indian meal, ensure that your hands are thoroughly washed, either in a restroom or with a bowl of water provided for that purpose. Besides hygiene, washing hands is considered a proper dining etiquette in India. Remember, food is considered sacred in India and should be handled with clean hands. In other countries, when eating with hands, you may use whichever hand is convenient. However, in India, only the right hand is used, as the left hand is considered unclean and associated with negative tasks. Even left-handed individuals must use their right hand when eating with hands. Special attention should be paid to not using both hands, as it is considered impolite and disrespectful to others and to the divine. When dining, it is important not to eat too quickly. Similar to many other cultures, such as Jewish and various Eastern and Western traditions, food is seen as sacred and a blessing from the divine. Therefore, maintaining a moderate eating pace shows respect for the food and those around you. When picking up food with your hands, take small portions to avoid spilling and being impolite. In India, wasting food is considered extremely disrespectful and is generally frowned upon. Whether dining at a restaurant or a local's home, ensure that no food is left uneaten. After finishing your meal, it is considered polite dining etiquette in India to thank the host for the meal. This applies whether you are dining at a private home or in a commercial restaurant. Always remember to compliment your host to show your appreciation for the delicious food you have been served. Today, with globalization, the exchange of culinary traditions and civilizations has become much easier. Indians, having experienced hundreds of years of British colonial rule, have been influenced significantly by Western culture. However, they still preserve cultural practices that have existed for thousands of years, passed down from their ancestors. Evidence of this is that most Indians, whether at home or dining out, continue the habit of eating with their hands. If you come from another place, you might find this eating method unattractive and somewhat unhygienic. But this is a cultural difference, not a matter of right or wrong. Similarly, Westerners might find the use of chopsticks by East Asians peculiar and interesting. It is also explained that the habit of using spoons and forks in Europe is rooted in a culture of hunting and gathering, where meat was the primary food and vegetables were secondary. Therefore, when they started cultivating, they mainly grew root vegetables and wheat. As a result, they used knives and forks during meals to cut meat and food into smaller pieces. When eating root vegetables, they would often make soups or stews and use spoons. In contrast, East Asian countries, particularly those influenced by China, such as Vietnam, Japan, and Korea, were shaped by a wet rice civilization. Small, sticky rice grains are best eaten with chopsticks. Additionally, population growth made many ingredients, especially food staples, increasingly scarce. Hence, people began cutting food into smaller pieces to cook faster and more economically. Small food portions couldn't be further cut, making chopsticks a simple and convenient tool. Moreover, eating with chopsticks is considered influenced by Confucianism, with Confucius, a vegetarian, deeming knives inappropriate at the dining table. In India, a person's status and position are also evaluated through their dining manners. When invited to a meal at an Indian family's home, if you adhere to the customs of eating with hands as described, it will signify your integration into the culture and respect for your host. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye and see you next time.